we have the pleasure of welcoming to Good Morning SKN one of our very own local translator, Mr. Dwight Berridge. Good morning, Mr. Berridge, and welcome to Good Morning SKN.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you. So which languages, let me put on the S, are you currently fluent in?
Well, let me first say that to be fluent in a language is to be able to converse, and or read the language in a fluid manner and uninterrupted by your thought process of translation. So it doesn't mean that you have a perfect vocabulary, but you are able to communicate effectively. So bearing that in mind, I can say that I am fluid or fluent or semi-fluent in French and Spanish. I don't know if you would like to recognize English. That's my native tongue. So,
so those are the three. Yes. We will take those.
All right. Okay. So French and Spanish. Obviously, your profession gives you a unique perspective to understanding and communicating what this day is all about.
Yes.
So, how long have you been a foreign languages teacher?
Oh boy, I've been teaching for over 20 years. In fact,
Congrats.
Next year is going to make my 20th year at the Washington Archibald High School, but I've had a short stint at the Charles Emile Secondary, it used to be called the Sandy Point High School, the St. Teresa's Convent School, which is now the Immaculate Conception School. And so probably about 25 years or so I've had in the profession.
That's not an easy feat. Congratulations.
Yes. And it has been a challenge, and it continues to be a challenge even today. Times are changing, and we need a lot of technological support for students. The way they learn is a bit different. They need to be stimulated, they need to be encouraged, motivated. So we need to look at really strategies, differentiated strategies to reach our young people.
You mentioned challenges. What are some of the challenges?
Well, some of the challenges, as we talk about the way they learn, there's a lack of resources in many instances. Sometimes you want to show a video or look at maybe listen to an audio or something, and you don't have the classroom is not equipped with the equipment to carry out the exercises, and so you would have to, as a teacher, if you're really concerned, you would have to dig into your own pocket and buy your own equipment to get the job done. Or else it's just talk and chalk.
Yes, exactly. That's not going to work as effectively as some of the other methods. Curious to know if you have had experiences dealing with students whose first language is not, or anybody in particular whose first language is not English, and how you've been able to, translate English to them, academically or otherwise.
Yes, every day I have experience with these students. In fact, we are getting more and more at our school. We have a number of students who have come from the Dominican Republic, in particular, Dominican Republic. And we have, sometimes we get from Haiti or other countries, but the majority of students, they are from the Dominican Republic speaking Spanish, and there's a language barrier. And so there's a need for, sometimes they'll be called to translate something for them or interpret what the information, to get the information across to them so that they could understand what is required of them in the system. And so it's daily, every day, we were looking at ESL, teaching English as a second language, or ESFL, teaching English as a foreign language, and we're looking at ways in which we can probably integrate these students into the system so that they'll be able to achieve the certification at the end of the day. And it's a work in progress, but we need to do a lot more in terms of reaching these students.
I imagine so indeed, because as you say that, ESL, I was thinking, okay, well, you said it's a work in progress. How far have you progressed to the point where you think, or in general, your observations, not necessarily specific to your school, But how far do you think that we've progressed in education to facilitate students like that?
Not very far. We have made strides. We have made progress in terms of being able. Right now, we have a teacher who is assigned to come and assist these students, teach them the basics in English and mathematics. Really and truly, what they need is to be able to communicate. And so it's not. Sometimes you look at a method where you just, oh, what is cat? Gato in Spanish, what is dog, perro, and so, or in French, chien, and you want to go back and forth. But the experts will tell you that the more you communicate, if you just look at that thing there, don't think about tassa in your language, cup. Just look at, just remember it's cup. That's cup to it, Forget about your background, your native tongue. Whether it's Mandarin or what, just whenever you see that, that's cup. And that is the approach that we need to take in dealing with these students. Notwithstanding, it's good if the person instructing these students has a knowledge of their language as well. But sometimes we like to go back and forth and we want to translate,
So just go straight to it.
Yes. And I've had a lot of opportunities to translate for persons in documents, birth certificates. I've done CXC and CAPE certificates and medical reports. The opportunity is there to do that. As a translator, I find that sometimes it's a bit challenging because there's certain things that just cannot be, you have certain expressions and phrases within the language that you're translating, which don't necessarily exist, in our own language. And so sometimes I just put back the word, right? And leave it there for, interpretation. And it's very rewarding when you can do those kinds of work for persons. You get paid handsomely at times. Sometimes some persons don't even want to pay you, but it's a good area that persons can get involved in, who are desirous of pursuing a foreign language.
Anglais pour les francophones. Anglais pour les francophones. Avec moi, Dwight Berridge. Aujourd'hui, on va parler des pronoms sujets. Les pronoms sujets. Quels sont les pronoms sujets en anglais? On a, dans la première personne, on a le pronom je. En anglais, on dit I. Dans la deuxième personne, on utilise tu. C'est la forme familière, tu. Ok? Je vais mettre les pronoms en français d'abord et après en anglais. Il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle, au pluriel. Donc, en français, on dit you, en anglais, on dit you. Il, c'est he, elle, she. Nous, c'est we. Vous, you. Et il, elle, pluriel, on dit they. C'est-à-dire en anglais.
All right, so that's all very interesting. I'm looking at you do that, and I'm thinking, you know what? You're good at French, you're good at Spanish. Obviously, you're speaking English. For me, that would be Franglish. Because
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
You make all three, Franglish.
combine all three. Was that difficult for you to learn initially?
No, because I have always, once I was introduced to French, when I entered the first form, I had a love for it, and I was fascinated with it. And so it wasn't difficult per se, because once you love something, you're going to devote time to it.
Yes.
And I would always read be the head of the teacher and that kind of thing. So,
So no Franglish for you.
No Franglish. No. But Dwight, do you ever get confused though? Do you ever say something for Spanish that you should say in French?
sometimes, especially when I have, I may just have a French class, and then my next class will be Spanish, and I go switch one time. I go to the other class and I greet them in French, forgetting that it's Spanish I'm supposed to be teaching right now.
Okay.
So they said, Mr. Berridge, we're not doing French, it's Spanish. You need to learn your timetable.
Oh boy. Yeah, they'll be glad to tell you that.
Children, oh my gosh.
In terms of the importance of translation, I'm curious to know as well about your immersing yourself or your students in other cultures, for instance, trips to Guadeloupe or neighboring islands, other countries. What has your experience been on that front?
We've had, I've never been on one with my students, but it's been done. The other teachers who would have gone. What
about your own experience, though, in terms of engaging other cultures?
Yes, I have. I've been on various workshops and programs. I've been to France twice, Martinique about 4 times, Germany. So when you as teachers, sometimes you get the opportunity to do a short summer workshop, and you would meet a lot of teachers from around the Caribbean and the world over, and who are interested in the same thing. They have the same interests, and you would be amazed by the culture, some of the things they do and say, and the way the manner of life they eat, what they eat, and certain. Actually, when I first arrived in Paris, I had a culture shock because I saw 2 guys there just, making out, So I learned again, you have an awareness. Certain things you may not know. You be studying the language, reading the textbook and so on, but when you actually get on the ground in the country, you see it you see what life is really like. Yeah.
Culture shock. You're reminding me of me being at 10 at Grand Central. Other story.
So you mentioned German. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Or is that your next language to learn?
That's my next language. I can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wow, that's impressive.
That's gonna be. I began learning, but I forgot most of it, and I played around with Mandarin and Portuguese, Italian. But once you have to stick at it. So I'm basically with French and the Spanish, but I know certain words and phrases in other languages.
I gotta say, people who speak multiple languages, very impressive, because to me, one of the advantages is always going to be your ability to engage so many different people, to share and exchange your ideas with multiple people. And I think that's an advantage, particularly as we talk about careers, integration. Those things are important. What do you tell your students when you're teaching them? Things like that?
Yes, I tell them that, sometimes students complain, it's hard, and I can't remember the vocabulary, can't do this. I said, but anything that you want to get good at, you have to keep at it. You have to practice. Practice makes perfect. Indeed. And so many opportunities are out there. You can translate letters, reports, articles, books, songs. Even this show can be translated. Can be reproduced, in Spanish. You put the captions or the subtitles, the words, and there are lots of opportunities. You can be in business, technical, legal, scientific materials. So I tell them, don't waste time. Just take advantage of the opportunity. Some students, particularly those in the 4th or the 5th form, they want to at the last minute drop out and so on. I said, no, you have the opportunity now. Yes, and you're going to wait until when you go to college or university, somewhere they say, well, you need to do Spanish or French or have a language other than your mother tongue.
And you have to start back over.
You start over again. Yeah. You start over. It's ridiculous. So
of the encouragement.
Yes, and then sometimes they have to go and pay money, the extra classes, and they have the opportunity.
Indeed.
in the high school.
So here's what I'm going to do, because we are just about out of time, but since you were versed in multiple languages, I'm going to ask you to look into that camera. Yeah, you're going to do a bumper first before we go to break. You're going to tell people, and I think we have a Latin community, so we've done Latin, Spanish, let's do French. You were watching Good Morning SKN on Studio 327, and then we're going to cut to commercial.
Vous regardez 3, 2, 7 sur Inc, Studio Inc.
Studio 327 Inc, yes.
Vous regardez Studio 3, 2, 7. Ustedes están mirando Studio 3, 2, 7.